Hey everybody, welcome to Snapdown Wrestling. I am Tommy Lynch. I am your host, and we have a great lineup tonight. We have four of the best area college coaches on the lineup tonight. We have Coach Robert Powell, wrestled at Nottingham University. He also was a graduate assistant at New England College for 2 years, head coach of Iowa Wesleyan University, and now the head coach of New England College. We have him with us in the house tonight. We also have John Clark, who is coach over at Sacred Heart. He started coaching at Stanford, then moved to Lehigh. He was coach at Brown here in Rhode Island. 2004, Ohio State graduate, two-time All-American as well. In August of 2005, we also have with us tonight Jay Jones, who over at Rhode Island College, and this is Jay's 22nd year with RIC. So great to have him on. 241 wins during 16-17 season. He's a multi-time community outreach partner with Beat the Streets with Providence. Does a lot for the wrestlers, a lot for the community. Great coach and good friend. Comes to my practices all the time over at Cranston West and helps out, and the kids really enjoy him. We also have Lonnie Morris with us tonight, who is the head wrestling coach for Johnson & Wales University, and he is going on his 23rd season and transformed the Wildcats to be one of the top programs in the country. And he's actually a Division III Hall of Fame coach, Lonnie, which Lonnie's great. I've known Lonnie for many years. When he was wrestling for Coventry, I was wrestling for Cranston East. And let me tell you, he couldn't wrestle his way out of a wet paper bag. I'm just kidding. He's a heavyweight, was a great football player, did not want to wrestle, and came out, started wrestling, fell in love with it like most of us do, and ends up being a 23-year college coach, which is just unbelievable. He's coached several All-Americans and a two-time national champion in Jay Albus. Just a great coach, great guy, great program, and we've got a great show going on tonight with those four coaches. So a lot going on with high school sports. Before we get into the inner circle with the coaches, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on with high school sports and with winter sports in general. It seems like as of today, the season has gotten pushed even more. The winter season which was supposed to start on November 30th, is now going to be starting on December 8th, and not cleared for competition till December 11th is the start when you can practice, and January 8th is when we can start for competition. And that's the latest and greatest. Some fall sports have been sidelined, such as soccer for Cumberland. They just got told that their playoff dreams and hopes are done, and they're sidelined due to what's going on. And the numbers that came in tight are 6,300 athletes. Out of the 6,300 athletes for the fall sports, they were looking at 30 cases. Okay, which is a concern. So I just wanted to get that and talk a little bit about COVID, but not too much. I think we're all sick of hearing it, and it's a concern for all of us coaches and athletes and the community in general. So without further ado, let's get into the inner circle and bring on with Jay Jones and Coach Clark and Coach Morris and Coach Powell. If you could, let's bring them into the inner circle and let's get this party started, guys. All right, everyone, welcome to the inner circle. I'm your host, Tom Lynch. Good to see you guys. All right, most of you guys know me. And some of you guys have tuned into the show last week, and we appreciate that. And just wanted to touch base with you on the COVID, since I started with that. On the college level, what is being done as far as precautions to make sure that, we're as safe as possible and the wrestlers are in the safest environment possible? We'll put you in the hot seat and we'll give you a minute to kind of fire off on what's going on with that. Let's start with Coach Clark, if you could.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having me on. I'm delighted to be here and honored as you look at the other coaches and other tremendous accomplishments. So it's an honor being here. And it's a great question, and it's something that I think each school is addressing a little bit differently with everyone's best intentions. And first and foremost, the student athlete's health is paramount. And we have good faith in our athletic trainers and doctors to keep us all safe.
Good. That's great. Lonnie, what's going on with you guys over there at Johnson Wales University?
Right now we're remote. We're doing some hybrid. Our freshmen and our transfers and any kids that have labs are in person. But for the most part, the majority of our students are remote. We have canceled the winter sports season. Our fall season got canceled. They just announced that we canceled winter season. So we're just looking forward to 21-22 and just started hitting the recruiting trail and just getting ready for next year. And just encouraging the kids to go to club and really that's it. Not much to report. During this pandemic.
Right. So you're not even having practice. I mean, it's completely canceled.
No, we're completely canceled. I mean, at first they said we could have 4 people in the room and no contact. And most of the teams across the country, at least in this area, it's really stance in motion and some stuff with maybe the snap and shoot and some yoga balls and stuff. But for the most part, it's no contact. And soon thereafter, we did some runs, and then our presidents of our conference canceled, and here we are. So I think we're at like 9 or 10 schools in Division III right now have canceled. All the Ivy Leagues have canceled. So it's coming. We're hoping everyone can hold on, but it doesn't look good right now.
Wow. Well, okay. Coach Jones, how's things over there at RIC, and what are you doing above and beyond to make sure that everything is sanitized and safe?
Well, as you know, one of the greatest, first of all, again, before I answer your question, just want to say it's humbling to be on here with all these great guys and yourself as a host and Mr. Ron Robert for putting this all together to try to bring the wrestling world, to light here, which is something that's, not done enough. So thanks for what you guys are doing to get the word out there for wrestling. Secondly, to answer your question, one thing that's great about wrestling is that wrestlers are always been used to kind of sanitizing the mats and doing those kind of things. So even my athletic director had mentioned in several meetings with the all staff, with all the sports, and said, hey, wrestling is going to have this down. We know that they know how to clean their mats, they know how to clean any equipment they use and so forth. So we really trust in their coaches and their athletes to help mitigate the situations, when different people use, because we're in pods right now. So we're going from, we got, 3 pods a day. So at 3 practices a day, we're on the same stuff. Guys wearing masks, we're cleaning and sanitizing after every use, all the different equipment, like Lonnie brought up the yoga balls and this and that. Look, it's not ideal. I'm just glad that some of our guys are, that stuck it out or are able to get an experience. And our goal, obviously, as we phase in to get to the contact situation and get to, potential schedule come 2021, our goal is to get some matches in between, mid-January, maybe late January and February and see what will happen from there. Thankfully our administration's holding on. Our athletic department's been supportive and we're very blessed. I mean, as you know, and how everyone knows, it's really safety first. And a couple of the coaches already mentioned that. So that's really where it's at right now. And, if the guys have to wear a mask, we have to take shorter goes and more breaks in order to get that to work. And that's what we're going to do to try to make sure that the student athletes are in the best interest of our program.
Sure. Yeah. That's That's important. Now, was there a delay in the start of the season at all, or was it just business as usual at the normal start date?
No, and for us, there's a couple of positive cases, and on campus, not only on our team but several other teams, and every single case that came on our campus was asymptomatic. So not one kid had an issue, but we have a special dorm at our school just for kids who either positive tested or in contact with a person that if they have to go into quarantine, and it's been handled very, very well by the college and the health department. Got to give them a lot of credit, and that's it. I mean, it's just business as usual. Once they kind of pushed us back a little bit, but now we're rolling, and guys are having fun.
Great, and good luck with the season and continuing your safety protocols and everything that you're doing on your end as a coach to keep things safe. We appreciate that for sure. Coach Powell, same question to you. What's going on over at NEC?
Yeah, I'm going to take the same approach as Jay. Just thank you for having me on here. Got some really great coaches here. I'm a young coach in my second year as a college head coach, so to be in the same group with these guys that have been doing it for combined 40 so years, that's great. But here at NEC, we've done a lot of great things to make our student athletes feel safe with everything going on COVID wise. We have been practicing now since October 1st. So like Lonnie said, like Jay said, we're wrestling in pods right now. When October 1st rolled around, we weren't on our mats. We were lifting with the guys, and I have them split up into two groups. So we go 125s through about 157s. We have them in different, weightlifting groups and wrestling groups of 3 to 4, and then a total group of 15. So we were doing one group would come in for an hour. They'd get their lift in, and then the managers, the coaches would sanitize, clean down everything, give it about a 15-minute wait. Then that second group would come in and get their lift in. After about 2 weeks of doing that, we got onto the mats. Our coaching staff went in and we measured out our mats. So we have two 42 by 42 mats. We were able to make 15 12 by 10 squares on the mat. So that way we could get 15 wrestlers on there, 6 feet apart from every other wrestler, no matter where they're at in their square. So then we just transitioned from lifting for 45 to an hour to about 15 to 20 minutes of stance and motion, push-ups, sit-ups, working in your own square. And then we eventually got to the point where our guys were drilling. So we started drilling about 2 weeks ago in those pods. We're still doing really well with testing. Our guys get tested every single Friday. And one thing that we've noticed with wrestling, if you're a 125-pounder, you're only wrestling 2 or 3 guys at 125 or at 133. So if there were to be a positive test within the team, we can, lock down what guys have come in contact. So NEC is doing a great thing, cleaning the mats between every single group, cleaning our weight room between every single group. We actually had to sit down with our basketball coach and our volleyball teams. They're now mopping the floors and cleaning the way that wrestling had cleaned in the past. Just like Jay said, it's all happened. Wrestling clean years, or at least trying to be as clean as possible. So we weren't ultimately prepared for it, but we've been doing the right things to make sure that we can succeed. And you guys really enjoyed it. I've actually loved, I'll say it right now, I've kind of loved what COVID's done for my season as a first-year head coach, that I don't have too much stress on competition right now. As a first-year guy here, I can slow things down and get more time with our guys, and it's not wrestle on Saturday, and then we can't work on technique Monday. We can focus on academics. When you come in as a freshman to college, those first 2 months go really well academically. And then once the season starts and you're taking bus trips on Friday, or you might be sucking some weight, or you're not doing the right thing, it starts to affect your grades. Now that that's out of the picture, we can really hammer down and focus on important things in the program. So I've enjoyed that part of it as well. And that's where we're at. We are hopeful for, some competition here in January and February, but as of right now, the NCAA hasn't canceled our season. So we're hoping to get, better as best as we can.
Sure. Well said. And with being able to measure everything out and have, guys, with their respective partner just drilling and staying with the same person, it makes the contact tracing much easier as opposed to, other sports. Not to take anything away from other sports, but, when you're on the field with 11 guys and you're clashing and just got substitutes coming in, it makes it real hard to contact trace. But with wrestling and the fact that you're not doing any competition right now, you know exactly who's with who. And as long as you're keeping those books and doing everything, the sanitizing and all that, it sounds like it's going real well, and it's going to be pretty safe. So good luck with that, and keep
Yeah.
doing the right things to keep safe.
We're actually in a really good position. I don't know if many of you guys know about our wrestling situation. We wrestle in about a 60-yard field house. So we're actually able to have our Group A come into one door and leave out of one door, and then Group B come into the other door. And then we have, about 15 by 60-yard worth of turf that we can lift on and rotate those groups. So instead of being in an 80 by 100 wrestling room, we have a more ventilated area that does allow NEC to have some stuff that other programs can't do. I mean, it's one of the fortunate parts of not having a wrestling room at this point.
Do you think that helped to actually have a season? The fact that you could present and show, look at how open, look at how well ventilated, look at the area that we have to work with?
Yeah, in our case, it will help with the things that we can do and contact tracing in the area that we have for our guys. But how many teams, out there have a 60-yard field house that they practice in? Most of these guys are in wrestling rooms that are 2-3 mats wide, and it's hard to get so many guys in there at a time.
Right.
We're doing
You
the
have to
best
split the practice. Yeah, very good. Well said again, Coach Powell. We're going to go to a short break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about some other things. We're going to go back to Coach Morris and talk about, hey, how likely is it that you will have a season? Is there something that can happen, like anything that could make this happen for you? Because they have their seasons going, and it seems individualized. So we're going to hit on that a little more when we come back. We're going to do a short break, guys. Excited. We'll be right back again. Once again, you all. All right, guys, welcome back. After wrestling, back in the circle. I want to get back to Coach Morris on what is going on. These guys got a season going on. You don't. I don't understand how that can be individualized.
Well, I mean, there is a chance. I spoke to my AD, and they will revisit it if there's a vaccine and all of a sudden everyone's able to compete and there's a regional and all those things. They'll go revisit it, because the other team in our conference, which is unique to New England, is we all have our own conference that all our basketball teams playing, but then wrestling has its wrestling only conference made up of several teams from all the smaller all the conferences that don't sponsor wrestling. So the NEWA is made up of, the Little East, the GNAC, the CC, the NUMAC. Several conferences make up the NEWA. Our conference, the GNAC, canceled winter sports But Norwich right now is the other team that sponsors wrestling, and the GNAC, they said they're going to exhaust all efforts to try to have some kind of engagement in the second semester. If for some reason, crazy reason, that there's enough vaccines, and because we're already doing testing, we're doing all that, but just to keep our kids safe, they're adamant about. Our president right now has no interest in having a winter season. So we would revisit it if everybody except us decided to compete. But right now, there's no intentions of having a season. And I don't know if you know this, Tommy, but everyone gets their year back across all levels. Everyone's going to get their year back. Whether or not they use it is a different story. But as of right now, Johnson and Wales will not compete in 2021.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that about them getting their year back. What does that mean exactly? That they can just take the rest of this time off and then come back next year and just redo the year as if it didn't happen?
So it's a blanket waiver, Tommy. A blanket waiver meaning that every student athlete will receive this year back of eligibility. So even if a kid wrestles this year, competes in several matches, whether they have a regional or not, they if they're a freshman this year, they'll still be a freshman next year. If they're a senior this year, they'll still be a senior next year.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Right,
only
yeah,
problem with that is, the only problem with that is that you're gonna have seniors, Tommy, that basically
Right.
can graduate, and that's the hard part. That families have to make really difficult decisions whether or not they're gonna come back and go to grad school or start another bachelor's or take the second semester off and come back next year to finish their senior experience. So it's a lot of these families are having struggles right now on what to do.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit with on Lonnie said that it's a little different for every kid. Now that they got to choose, if you're a senior right now, do you want to come back for a fifth year? If you're if you've already been in college for a couple of years with a redshirt injury and you're coming back, it gives kids the opportunity that if say you want to get your master's, you want to use that year. If you want to go to a less expensive college or a college closer to home, you can do that. But NEC has done the best thing that we can do for our students and our student athletes, where we've kind of put out a blanket tuition for masters. Necessarily, any student that is a full-time student during the 2020-21 year will have a discount rate towards master's programs. So whether you're a student athlete or just a regular student at NEC, if you committed to be here for this full year, they're going to help you out with a tuition price going into your master's program, which is for all students, which is something that really helped a lot of our students, just not even athletes, just all students, just make the decision that they want to be a part of, the measures that NEC's taken to be successful and be safe this year.
Well, that's great. Especially for the families that aren't loaded and just can't be like, okay, well, let me just pay for another year of college for my son or daughter. So that's really great to hear. Wow. Again, some things that I didn't know. But Coach Clark, anything going on with competition with you as far as is it set? Is your schedule set, or how's that looking?
Yeah, we our schedule's set. It's been altered a few times, but as most recent as a couple of days ago, as we found out, unfortunately, with the Ivies, because not only a great wrestling conference, but they're also within our conference, similar to Lonnie, how we're in the Northeast Conference as a school, but the EIWA as a wrestling conference. And, we're very comfortable with our schedule. And fortunately, we're in a very good location to safely travel to all of our competitions. And a lot of thought has gone into that.
Excellent. Now, Coach Jones, what's being done about spectators in for matches? Has that been discussed? Are there going to be spectators? Or are they just going to do a stream of it? Or are they going to have X's on bleachers to where people can sit and can't sit? Do you know anything about that?
I mean, preliminarily, we've been told that there will be no spectators, and that we'll be live streaming all of our home events. If we do get that opportunity, which we're hoping for. Obviously, that's a preliminary statement. I do not, we'll see when the schedule is approved, and if there's something that we're actually going to compete in, we'll kind of cross those bridges when they come to it. But the preliminary discussion by the athletic administration, it would be without fans, and it would be with a virtual live stream for people to be able to watch.
That's great. That makes sense. Not so great for the fans, but I mean, if they're able to watch it, they have that. You're not right there. You're not in the event. You're not at the gym, but at least you're still able to watch it and enjoy it. So that's a good thing, and it'll keep people safe. Again,
but again, that's just our administration. That could be very different than any other institution. Everything seems to be driven by the various presidents of the colleges and universities. So, it really is going to be a wait and see kind of thing at the various colleges, universities.
Sure. That makes sense. Coach Powell, I wanted to ask you about recruiting, because I know that you were doing some time in Iowa and abroad, just doing some recruiting. How has this all affected your recruiting efforts? Did it slow you down? Do you think that it really hurt you, or do you think it was still okay regardless of being hindered by this?
Yeah, COVID definitely has changed the way that we recruit. It's changed the way that everyone's recruiting, and the way that we adapt to it is just the new things that we can do. Whether it's virtual tours we're doing on campus, a lot of Zoom calls with families and prospective student athletes. One thing that's really hurt recruiting a little bit is a lot of tournaments being canceled. A lot of national tournaments and regional tournaments that were either canceled or moved to different states, which now as a coach, we don't get to travel to those, because we are under a Pilgrim promise that every student and faculty member has on campus, where, if we leave the state, we'll do a 14-day quarantine before we come back. And, I've really just kept my guys here, coaching staff wise, to not hit the road as much. We're on the phones with kids. Now Zoom is a big part of our recruiting process. Before it was, you have a couple phone calls with the guy, you start texting, and then you get the family on campus. But now you can Zoom with the mom and dad, Zoom with the kids. And even those in New England that can travel, across state lines within New England, we can get up for visits. I want to say it's helped with visits in New England, specifically now that we have multiple days that we can do visits, whereas in the past, most student athletes are only able to visit on Saturdays and Sundays because they have school during the week. But a lot of schools are right now going virtual and asynchronous. So there may be a student that lives in New Hampshire that has a Wednesday off, and mom or dad has Wednesday off, so now they can come during the week to do a visit. If we do visits on campus, we're not inside of buildings. Everything's just outside, open air. Everyone wears a mask, but it has changed how we recruit. We've adapted to it, and I think,
Sure.
when the 2020 class comes in for NEC, we're going to see one of those schools that's kind of prevailed during this tough time.
Right. Coach Clark, same thing. In Division I over at Sacred Heart, has that changed, or are you doing the same types of things with recruiting and just keeping that train moving?
Yeah, I mean, I think we always have to be creative in how we stay engaged at present times, whether it be recruiting or running a practice. And so, you have to get creative, and we certainly have done that as a staff. And it's something that I think people appreciate, just because, sometimes they're used to things a certain way. And if you switch it up a little bit, it's nice and refreshing for the kids. I personally don't do any Zoom calls or any FaceTime calls. I don't think anyone wants to look at me that long, and I think they're burned out with Zoom calls. So everyone has their own strategy, and I think all of them are very effective if it works for them. And, it's just nice to keep an eye out what other coaches are doing, but also be creative in your own self.
Right. Do you find that your numbers are down?
I think it remains to be seen. I think the number one thing is just empowering these kids right now, because they're going through some tough times, and just encouraging them to do the best that they can. And, the tournaments that they are able to wrestle at. And, so it's kind of ever changing, and every day it kind of, it's tough to evaluate exactly where you are in comparison to previous years. But, we're very fortunate on this call to be with some of the best recruiters that I know. And not only do they have large rosters and great talent, they treat their student athletes well. So I kind of opened with being surrounded by good company, and it's worth noting again that these are very well respected coaches that are also on this call.
Absolutely, yes. Well said, Coach Clark. I'm going to take another short break, and when we come back, we're going to wrap up the inner circle and just talk about some of the other things going on, like camps, which camps would be the best ones to go to if you guys are running any camps, or if you're even looking that far ahead, because I know everybody's just trying to just get the season in and get through this and keep everybody safe. So we'll be right back. Again, this is Snapdown Wrestling with Tommy Lynch, followed by SFBN Rhode Island. It's sfbnri.com. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Snapdown Wrestling, the Inner Circle. I'm here with Coach Clark, Coach Jones, Coach Powell, and Coach Morris. And we are in the Inner Circle talking shop, talking wrestling, talking setbacks, talking future, and right now talking camps. I'm the head wrestling coach for Cranston High School West, and I know that my wrestlers are always looking for camps to go to in the off season. And right now we don't know if there's going to be a season. We know that we're going to start practicing at some point, which is still encouraging. It's still encouraging on our level. There's nothing that's been said. It's completely canceled. It's being pushed, which again, it's encouraging for us because we are still very hopeful for a season. But if not, I know there's clubs going on. I still know that there's things going on. I know that there's camps going on. Jay, Coach Jones over at Rhode Island College, I know you run a camp. I know that Coach Morris runs a camp, Coach Clark and Coach Paul. What do you have in place for camps, if at all? I don't know.
Yeah, I've personally been to Coach Jones' camp a bunch of times, and he does a fabulous job, and he had a tremendous
I've heard that.
beyond his traditional camp, and so he does a great job with that. The Big Dog Camp is legendary in Rhode Island that Lonnie runs out of his room, and it's usually capped every single year because of the demand. And I imagine as Coach Powell, and I think he deserves a lot of praise for what he's accomplished in the short time that he's been there. I mean, Coach Jones and Morris have coached the national champ, and Coach Powell will soon fall into that category. I'm sure, and I'm sure that he will grow a camp base, and I'll kind of let him. I don't want to speak for himself, but if he's growing like everything else in his program, imagine that's in plan as well.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. I agree. I'm working everything that I can do to make this program a little bit better. One problem that we've had in the past at NEC is not necessarily having a full-time head coach that would lead summer camps and be available for that. So I'm working with my athletic director right now, and we're working on purchasing 2 new wrestling mats for our program, so that way we can have room for our roster that continues to grow, and that way we have the availability to host some camps. Not wanting to compete with Jay's camp or Lonnie's camp. Jay, I still haven't gotten an invite to camp. Just throwing it out there.
We didn't have it last year, man. COVID.
Yeah, but we're looking to really grow. And one thing that COVID's kind of done that's not necessarily ideal, but everything I do, I look at the silver lining and what we can do to get better. I know most of these coaches may have an operation budget that they use for their program that, if we're not traveling right now, if we're not spending food money for things that we're doing, that's kind of money that the school has already put aside for our year that doesn't get used. And, we're looking at using that money and putting it back into the program, which would be new mats. The school has updated their logo in the past 2 years. So having 2 fresh new mats with that new logo. So now it opens up camps and clinics that we can hold, in the summertime. And we can have those kids that, if they come to the NEC camp on one weekend and Coach Jones is there, Coach Morris is there, Coach Clark is there, and you guys can recruit and help out at those camps. Then the next weekend, I'm in Rhode Island at another camp, and we can just help grow wrestling in all of New England, and not just, hey, you got to go to this one camp, hey, you got to go to that one camp. Let's all have camps that kids can come to. We can get more exposure for these New England kids and just grow the sport of wrestling that's slowly becoming a big sport here in New England.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't say that one of Coach Powell's great assistants, Brandon Gauthier, is a Rhode Island College alum, and he's been at my camp every year. So he's gotten great kids out of my camp. Diego Santiago being one of them, multi-time Scholar All-American and so forth. So, and to name just a few, there's a bunch of them that have come out of our camp that Coach Gauthier recruited out of there, and Coach Clark's been at my camp every year, does an amazing job with his technique and so forth. And I know Coach Morris runs the big dog thing. So we're just all very blessed in the area that we continue to grow the sport. And, we just, that's all we want to do is keep making it better. And, trying to face the challenges that we're facing right now is obviously a different time than we've ever felt. It's always been a challenge, right? But now it's even a greater challenge. And we're going to continue to keep pushing though. And hopefully, the governor will open up, for business back in the summertime coming up, and we'll be able to get something going. We'll see how COVID goes. I mean, we got to obviously go by the regulations that are set forth, and we can't just run business without the approvals. So it's going to be a challenge. We'll get through it. Wrestlers always get through it, right? We'll do it together. We got a great community here.
Resilient bunch.
Brothers in the sport.
Lonnie, how about your big dog camp?
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Yeah, we're probably, I don't know where Tommy went, but we're probably looking at our goal is to do it in July. It's scheduled in July. It's just a day camp. I'm getting too old for the thought of any overnight. It stresses me out. I listen to all the stresses of everyone with the overnight stuff, and I just stick to a day camp and drop them off. You drop them off at 8:30. You pick them up at 3:00, and that's kind of like what we've been doing the last couple of years. And we're looking to do it July 5th through the 9th. That's usually when we do it. But other than that, like Jay said, we're just hoping that we'll be back to business by July. Everything's pointing towards that with the vaccine and everything, but there's no guarantee that we're going to be back in business, and we'll see. It's just that's one of our major fundraisers that we do for our program.
And that's big to hit on fundraising. With us not wrestling right now, and if these guys can't have their camps, that hurts them as a program with money for fundraising. I know Lonnie and Jay, you guys have been doing, what you're doing at the same school for a while. So you have a great alumni base. NEC Wrestling right now has one alumni. I don't think we're hitting that up for any money right now. So camps are big for the sport. So, Coach, if you have kids that are looking for camps over the summer, it's not this is the best camp, this isn't the best camp. Get out there and wrestle. You're not just helping yourself, you're helping the sport of wrestling if they're getting out there and going to camps and wrestling. Same with getting their name out there, so they can be recruiters, they can continue to wrestle at the next level. Make sure your kids, wrestle as much as they possibly can when they have the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, let me ask you this. How much do you think it would hurt a senior, especially in his senior year, working hard, the thousands of hours that were put in, as far as getting a scholarship? I mean, do you think that would really hurt his chances because you don't get to see him have that undefeated senior year? He's, win the state championship, New England championship as a senior. And from one year to the next, from a junior to a senior, I know that a lot can happen and a lot of blossoming can happen, especially, like you said, if the wrestler is going year round. A lot could happen. So do you think not having a senior year could be a make or break moment where, well, we're not going to look at that kid, or, he could hurt his chances for a scholarship by losing his senior year?
That'd have to be a Coach Clark question on scholarships.
Yeah.
Things that the three of us are Division III and not offering athletic scholarships, but.
Right. Yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't specify Coach Clark there. That's who I was directing the question towards.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think one thing that we just have to make sure is that we support these kids. We've already found out that they're not going to have New England, and that's a big tournament and unique to obviously our region. And so those kids that have been close to winning a New England title and might not get that, and just letting them know that that's okay, and letting them, hoping the best for the individual state tournaments, and, just being there for the kids because, as competitors, we're able to experience, some of us New England, some of us other places. And these poor kids are going through some things right now that they might not be able to experience this year. And so more than anything, if we can be there for the kids and luckily in wrestling, they wrestle a lot of matches throughout the year, and there's other ways to prove themselves besides these upcoming months here, and thankful for all the people that run tournaments throughout the year to be able to make that happen for us as coaches to see them in other ways.
Right. So other tournaments and yep.
Tommy, do you understand how the scholarships work? Like,
I know Division.
Division I? Do you know how many scholarships Division I has?
No.
All right, they have 9.9. So let's just say round numbers, just so I think what's frustrating whenever I listen to you say is COVID gonna affect a kid's scholarship? We need to start educating these kids and coaches and parents on what scholarships are in a sport of wrestling and understanding the landscape. All right. So let's say we started Cranston West University and you're the head wrestling coach. All right. You get 9.9 scholarships. So say 10 scholarships. Right. How many kids are under team coach Clark?
Presently 51.
51. So let's say that Cranston West University and Tommy Lynch, you have 10 full scholarships to give. And you give out 10 full rides. How many scholarships do you have the following year to give, Tom?
9.9.
No. See, this is the problem. No one's educated on this. No. Once you give 10 full scholarships, you can't give another scholarship for 4 years. So guess how many scholarships Cranston West University has the following year?
Zero.
All right. So
yeah.
Here's the problem. There's not a lot of money, significant money, unless you're a Mark Hall, Bo Nickel, or Soriano. So the bottom line is everyone wants to know why schools in Division III can be so successful. There's only about 75 schools left at Division I. There's only like 68 schools Division II. There's like 112 at Division III. There's only 250 programs in the entire country in wrestling. So people want to know why. How can you get all these good kids? How can you get a state champ? How can you get a kid that was second here? How are you getting these kids? Because by the time the kids get their academic money, which has no bearing on their athletic ability, and they get their financial aid that's based on whatever the parents file for taxes, we're very competitive with what the kids are going to have to pay. So it's just very frustrating that your viewers need to understand the landscape of wrestling, that there's not significant money, and not all schools are fully funded. Some schools only have 1 or 2 scholarships. Ivy League doesn't offer scholarship. So it's just something that needs to be said at some point to educate the kids when you're looking at the schools. So that's just something I want to get off my chest. When I heard you say it, I knew you didn't understand it.
That's a great
We need
point.
to educate. Yeah.
Yeah, that's excellent.
I don't know if anyone else wants to add about that, but
yeah, please do.
Because
I think, I know a little bit about it, but not a lot. And I know
I think Division II, John, correct me if I'm wrong, but Division II is like 7.7 7 scholarships. What's Division II?
Yeah, something like that.
Yes. So Division II, they don't even have 9.9. And again, there's NAI that offers a little bit more money, different scholarship structures. But it's just something to put out there that there's a reason why, some of these really talented kids, so Coach Powell's got a kid on his team, Evan Fidelibus, who transferred from Ryder. I mean, Ryder's like $55,000-$60,000 a year, and I don't think he was on significant money. So then he had a buddy on a school and transferred, and I'm sure he's not paying what he was paying at Ryder.
Yeah, that's a great thing that Lonnie hits on, is a lot of kids, if they don't have the understanding of how scholarships work, and when you say 9.9, that's not even 9 full rides. Some kids have partial scholarships, or which isn't full money. So one big thing in the recruiting process for me, if I tell a guy before you want to commit to NEC or you're committing to other schools, wait till your financial aid packages come out. Really understand what you're paying, how much it's going to cost to go to school there, and decide, is this the place for me? Spending the year I did out in Iowa at Iowa Wesleyan University, a lot of the Midwest is NAIA schools. So I got a chance where I recruit against some NAIA schools and just understanding their scholarship structure, and going from, my first college job was NEC, surrounded by 16 other Division III schools, and then Brown, Harvard, and Sacred Heart, and then going out there where every school 10 miles of me is an NAIA school that's giving out scholarship money, and I'm just D3. And really getting those kids to understand that, so your package may say you have a $4,000 or $5,000 athletic scholarship, but you may still be paying the same or paying more to go to some of those schools. And that's why what Lonnie's saying, we can get some top talented kids just because, do you want to go to, Penn State, or do you want to go to a school like Ryder and you want to be, guy number 2, guy number 3, and pay a little bit more to say I'm a Division I athlete, or I'm on some scholarship? Or do you want to go somewhere where it's going to be affordable for you and your family? You can still get a great education, you can still become a great wrestler, and then go off in the world and be a great person. So that's important for the parents and the high school coaches to just educate kids on scholarships and just understanding how it works. And that's something that I know they have the Scholastic coaches. Isn't it, Lonnie, is the college convention also a Scholastic one for high school coaches as well?
Yeah, they have the high school version of that at the NWCA as well down there. This upcoming year it's going to be in Baltimore.
Yeah, I'd say that's something that's really important for if there's high school coaches out there watching, coaches out in New England, anybody that's watching, get down to those clinics, get down to those things, and educate yourself as a coach so that your kids understand how a scholarship works. Get a guy to understand that, by your senior year, if you haven't made it to New England's place in New England's, you can go out and win a New England championship, and there's still not a lot of money out there, but you still do have opportunities at some really great universities to be successful.
Awesome. That's good
And
stuff.
one other thing, there's sometimes people have these inflated prices at big universities, and they say, oh, we're offering you $25,000 in academic money or this and that. Well, it still costs another $30,000 to go to that school. Like, sometimes people don't realize it's not how much you're giving. It's what's the bottom line you're paying. You young people out there and you parents, you're gonna want to understand. You want to come out with the least amount of loans possible. That's the bottom line. You don't want to come out owing, $100,000 when you're done with school. You want to come out owing, under $25,000. If you come out owing under 25 grand over 4 years, that's not a bad deal. So you have to start thinking about that. What school can get you guys the most amount of the best situation to pay out of pocket? That's what you have to look at. Not what someone's offering you. It's what you're going to pay in the end. And I think people don't realize that. And that's an important thing. You don't want to put your family in debt, for a college education. It's crazy.
Awesome. Very good. Well, thanks for educating me personally on this subject a little more. And now I know I'm going to possibly have a segment just on scholarships and financial and, different ways that some of these young athletes can get to a school. They don't have to go to, like you said, a Penn State or a big university. They can still go get a great education, still finish off their wrestling career, be proud of it, and then walk on to the real world and be great people and better because of wrestling. And I know that for sure, that something about the sport of wrestling, it just puts you in a position to really face challenges head on in life and be able to do that because of the wrestling mentality that you acquire through starting at the elementary, middle school, high school, and then finishing off with great college coaches like yourself to teach these young athletes how to become great people in life.
And also, Coach, if you don't mind 1 second, each kid's different, and each kid has opportunity. The college decision is about, finances, but first and foremost, you got to have the major that people want to study. It's about a step to become a young professional someday, right? So finding the right fit with the great coaches like we have, Coach Clark, Coach Morris, Coach Powell, right? We got great coaches in all over the place in New England. These guys, especially among the best. So it's really about the fit, the culture, the academic offerings, the finances. There's so many things that go into that decision. But it's so important to look at the whole package of a school. If you really elevated and you really want to push for that Division I shot, you got a great coach here in Coach Clark. He's a top-notch All-American coach who has a great process of wrestling, knows what he's doing. Coach Morris has a great track record for building All-Americans at Johnson & Wales. Coach Powell's a young coach who's got a great young team, okay? Ourselves, we have a lot of things that we offer that we do well as well at our school, okay? And that we've had guys who had tremendous great experience at our place as well. We reached All-American and all that kind of stuff. But the bottom line is you have to find the right campus fit, whether you like a city campus, whether you like a self-contained campus, whether you like the country, whether you like the city, right? It's all a mixed bag. And I think kids have to not just look at the wrestling piece, but they have to look at the financial piece. They have to look at the culture, how well they like the coach. He's going to be like a mentor to you, not only on the mat, but in life as well. We got great ones right here. So there's a whole mixed bag of stuff that goes along with this, not just finances, not just the wrestling track record of the program the previous years, because guess what? A new team's coming in. What's the culture like? What's the feel like when you go to visit campus? There's so much that goes into it. I just want people to make sure they educate themselves on the whole package, not just one facet of it. It's a big decision.
It is.
I'm going to agree with Jay on that, and everything that he said is pretty much, I think every coach here says in their recruiting philosophies with their guys and how they run their program. Here at NEC, we call our recruiting philosophy the 4 for 40, and we get guys to understand that the decision you make for the next 4 years is going to set you up for the next 40 years of your life. You can wrestle, you can win 4 national championships, Division III level, even some at the Division I level, but that almost doesn't matter once you walk across that stage. I tell my guys when I recruit them, it's wrestling will help get you into college, but wrestling will absolutely not get you out of college. You got to find a place where you can go and you can grow as a person academically. You can make those relationships with your professors, with your coaches, with the other guys on your team, not just where am I going to go to wrestle? Because in 4 years, it's that degree, it's those relationships you've built. It's what these coaches, these mentors have helped you become and achieve in life that's really going to matter. So you want to find a college that fits you financially, but also fits you personally for what you're going to go and do in your life.
Mm-hmm.
That's what some high school coaches and parents need to, push to their athletes. Don't just go where you think it's going to be a great place to wrestle and you just want to wrestle, not what they're offering, but what they can actually do for you, how this school is going to help you become better in all aspects of life.
Awesome. Coach Jones, thank you for more insight on that and for being over at Rhode Island College for so long. Love Rick. Love you coming to my practices when we have them. Keep doing that, please. Coach Powell, thank you for being on. Thank you for not becoming a car salesman and staying here in New England and running a great program. I can see obviously some great things that are going to be happening. Coach Morris, thank you for being on for sure. And also thank you for actually wrestling. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Coach Morris almost did not wrestle. All right. He was a great football player, was not going to wrestle. He had some great mentors in his life with Coach Smith and Coach McGarian that got him into the sport. And once he tried it, found out that, hey, you know what, I can get through this and fell in love with the sport. And look at him, he's a legendary coach on his 23rd year over at Johnson & Wales, which is an amazing program. Coach Clark, thank you for being on this call and for coming from Ohio, coming to New England and being a coach here and doing such a great job with your program, 51 plus wrestlers. It's really a great thing. And gentlemen, thank you all for being on and for your insight. And everybody is a lot more educated right now because you're here. So thank you. And we appreciate you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
You got it, guys.
Great friends in the sport. God bless.
God bless.
Stay safe.
Stay safe.